Hey mates, how are we doing? Good afternoon. This is just going to be a shorter video for today on June 23rd, 2022. I have officially made it to the Yellow Spring herself. So, the funny thing is, I wasn't even originally planning to come here, but I'm like, you know what? Because I came into the village so later in the day that a lot of the shops were already closing up. So I'm like, you know what? It's nearby, I might as well. But here is the Yellow Spring. This is essentially how the town Yellow Springs gets its name. We're looking at a great example of something known as an artesian well, in a sense, when it comes to watershed hydrology. Now, what I mean by that is, think of it this way. Essentially where we are, we have a lot of rocks, especially in the form of limestone. So what that happens is, with the rocks weighing down on the ground with gravity, the rocks basically create a lot of pressure. And so basically what happens is, since there is so much pressure, any aquifers around here, they're basically being pressurized to go upwards and take a path of least resistance. So essentially because of that reason, that is actually why this spring exists. And this is completely natural water too. This is what you call well water at its finest. Hold on just a second, you guys. Alright, back at it. There were a couple of people passing by, so I didn't really want them to cause too much interference. So, as noted, this is complete well water. So you figure there are a lot of minerals in this very water. And for that very reason, that is why you have this color that is produced. This is more of like a orange brownish than actual yellow. But when European settlers were making their way here, they just wanted to simply call it Yellow Springs. But essentially what's creating that color is a compound known as iron oxide, which is also known as rust. So essentially what happens is, as the water makes its way out and gets exposed to oxygen in the atmosphere, that iron within the water that was in, liquid or mineral form, it precipitates, kind of turns into like a solid-like structure. And thus, as a result, it creates that colorful effect. So, as gorgeous as it is, it's still really cool to also know the science behind it, too. So, essentially, Glen Helen actually has a nice little history. Basically, you figure, it was back in the 20th century, I can't remember exactly which decade it was, but an individual by the name of Hugh Taylor Birch, he was actually a student from Antioch University, which is based in Yellow Springs. Funny thing, Antioch was actually a school I was thinking of going to, but the thing is, the tuition there was a lot more expensive than even Wittenberg, and they're both private universities. So, needless to say, he was an alumnus from Antioch, and basically the land where we are right now, he used to own it. And so he figured, as part of his legacy before he passed, he wanted to donate this land to Antioch University. Because there was a point when Glen Helen used to specifically be privately owned by Antioch, but now it is actually a public facility. So there's two different reasons as to why this place is called Glen Helen in the first place. So one is essentially when you're walking through this preserve, you're seeing something called a glen. And a glen basically describes a narrow river valley, because what runs through here is Yellow Springs Creek. And since it's a smaller creek, it's essentially created only a narrower valley. And that usually refers to a glen. And then the Helen part of it was actually one of Hugh Taylor Birch's children. He had a daughter named Helen. And so, as part of his donation of the land, he wanted to name it in honor of her. And so, that's essentially how the preserve gets its name. But yep, this water will eventually trickle its way down and will eventually meet with the Yellow Springs Creek. It's cool stuff. So, alright you guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and if you ever visit this site, be sure to drink the water from that, because for one, it is well water, so it is completely natural, and two, there is a common belief that if you do drink water from the spring, you're always bound to come back. And you could say I'm the very proof of that. So, alright you guys, take it easy, enjoy your Thursday, and journey on a journey is outwards. Take care folks, see ya.